Welcome to Elementary. I hope you're having a fabulous Monday wherever you are. And I hope that you had a wonderful weekend, whatever you choose to do. Now, it was the first day of spring, and I know for most of us, we're probably saying, what the hell? We're still getting all this rain and cold weather, but things are looking up. Things are definitely looking brighter. And in saying that, I have a guest today on my show, and I'm not sure if she's ready to join, but I have a guest on my show, and I'm looking forward to talking about everything real estate. And so what's going on in the world of real estate? Well, Bank of Canada announcement came out, and the rate remained unchanged, which most of us knew that's exactly what was going to happen. However, there's lots happening in this world, right? And when the price of gas goes up, so does inflation. So we definitely have to keep a watch. But what I'm seeing is that people are coming out. People have started to come out. It's been a little bit of a different month. It's been a couple of strange months. Hey, there you are. Perfect.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm
Oh,
good.
you see that I'm blabbing.
I thought it was loading, and I'm like, I don't know if I should leave and come back or just wait. So I was waiting.
It's so weird. It's like absolutely weird what happened. My stuff's been acting up all day, so I don't know if it's just me or anyone else. But anyways, so how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. New year, exciting
Yeah,
thing. Yeah. How are you? It's been a while.
yeah, it has been a while. It is. I mean, it's been good. I can't complain. I've been kind of busy, so I can't complain really. I really can't complain if you're busy,
Yeah.
especially in the last couple of months, which was good. And I'm starting to see a little more activity too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
a
much.
little bit, a little bit. There's hope. There's hope.
Right? People are getting excited. And I mean, as much as uncertainty there is in the market, people are ready because the prices are, a little bit more favorable than they were maybe last year or the year before.
Yeah, I had a listing that took a little while. A couple of years ago, that place would have sold for like a lot. I mean, they still got a really good, I mean, based on whatever factors were in the mix for this listing that I had, they still got a really good price. 2 days on the market, 3 days, maybe 2 days, I think.
Yeah.
Two, three, who's counting? We got an offer, and then 5 day, conditions. And yeah, conditions were fulfilled, and we just have to wait to closing.
Right? That's
And
always the part.
yeah. And that's what I'm telling people, just if you're going to take a closing, if you need a closing, let 60 be your max because things are changing, people's lives change. If it's more than 60 days, ooh,
Telling yourself that the window is too wide. There's so many things that could happen.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And
so
just,
explore the right time.
you've got a momentum, just roll with it, right? But let's get started. Introduce everyone, introduce yourself to everyone because I'm sure they know you, but introduce yourself. I see you've got new branding. So exciting.
Oh yeah, the little sign back.
Yeah.
I updated. I'm telling you, 2026, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so for those that don't know me, I'm Kimberly Miller. I'm a mortgage agent, level two. So I have access to A
Yay.
lenders, B lenders, and private. I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and mortgages are my jam. Yeah.
So, yeah, so what's happening in the world of mortgages? Like what can you share with our viewers that you would really like want them to hit home with, right?
Well, the biggest thing right now would probably be the interest rates. Everyone's talking about it. There was just an announcement last week where the Bank of Canada decided to hold the policy interest rate. And I do get questions a lot because many people think that the policy interest rate affects fixed rates, and it doesn't. It actually only affects variable or like lines of credits and whatnot. So I do get questions about that. And, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, especially with things happening down south. Like with the states, you just never know what to expect. Like who expected, the attacks in the Middle East, right? Who could have predicted that, right? It's just so much uncertainty, and that has a snowball effect. It affects us too over here. And that's why you're going to see like fixed rates going up right now. They went up last week and they may be trending upward, and that's because directly affected by oil and, various things in the market. So you'll hear a lot about oil and fixed rates and of course the Bank of Canada interest rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? It's strange because people, you see, I mean, I get it. Like, it's buying may not be for everyone, right? Like I keep saying it to people, your story needs to make sense. Like, and right now, from where I stand, there's I see a lot of people trapped.
Yeah.
Like if you're a move up buyer where you've purchased a condo, right? And let's hope you didn't buy at a crazy high, brand new price. And no, I don't talk people out of brand new because it's not my source of income. And the reason why is because I choose to do resale because I feel like a lot of people, when you're shopping with them brand new, you're looking at a piece of paper. People misunderstand. Like, I mean, even the pros who are looking at floor plans every day can like dream that it's going to be a little bigger until they walk in, right?
Yeah.
But people who are not used to just looking at a paper and picking out a floor plan, there's nothing like walking them through a house and letting them get that feel of a house. And I'm not just talking about maybe they've staged the place, maybe they haven't, and I'm not even getting it's just getting a feel like of how the house is situated. And I've noticed staging helps. Like I've said it myself. I staged the last house I sold. I staged the one I sold prior to that. As much as people want to they don't want to spend the money on staging. And let me be honest, the ones I stage, I'm the one spending the money. I'm the fool who puts the money out because I believe in my ability to sell the place, right? But I also want people to be able to cash in on their biggest asset, right? I want people to be able to look beyond frayed carpets. I want people to see, yeah, like maybe the carpets are not in the best situation and I can change that as cheap. Or maybe the paint is so ugly, but that's the cheapest thing that you could do.
Yeah.
But also be able to see the room and the house in the full potential, right? And a lot of times you take people into a condo, they'll say, oh, the bedroom's too small, my bed's not going to fit.
Yeah.
And it's like pulling teeth to convince them that, yeah, this is how far your bed will be. This is plenty of room. But when it's a stage space and they see a bed there, even though there's probably this much of space for them to walk through, they're like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. My bed's going to fit,
That's
right?
it. And a lot of times, especially like with my clients, I always try to tell them, look at the bigger picture because your home is not only an interest rate, it's a future investment, like something that you could pull equity from and then get like a rental property or second home or use that equity to do something that will benefit you in the future. So while you might want this big 5-bedroom house, you may have to start off with a condo or even a townhome. And that's totally okay. But I just think that as long as the property is good and there's potential there, by all means, but definitely get into the market if that is what your goal is. Because I mean, it's not for everyone. Some people are going to rent, and that's totally okay too. But if you are going to get into the market, just looking at the bigger picture is what matters. And like, I mean, I've heard stories where people don't take a place because they don't like the color of the paint on the wall.
Cheapest thing to fix. It's
Which
the
is
cheapest thing to fix. Have a paint party, have your friends come
right.
over. It's the cheapest thing to fix. I tell people that all the time. But the one thing I would say to people is that, I'm a proponent of like resale, right? And not for anything else. I just feel like so much changes and you know what you're getting. You know you're getting ugly paint if you pick ugly paint. You also know that, hey, I'm buying this house. This is the house I'm getting. If I close in the next little while, we're good to go. Everything will line up. Not, I'm going to close 2 years from now, 3 years from now. The place is, first of all, going to be a shocker because, it's so microscopically small. I don't even think that's a word, but anyways, it's so small. And then secondly is that I've picked the worst plan that anyone could pick because it was the cheapest. And third, I can't even close on it because I don't have. How many of those are you seeing where people are?
Yeah, I'm seeing those unfortunately where people have bought pre-construction a couple of years ago. It's scheduled to close in a couple of years, and they're scrambling because the condo market is so far down right now where they don't know what they're going to do. So I have good cases where they come to me early and we're able to strategize and, kind of get them in a position so that when it is time for closing, they do have the money prepared and they're not going to lose their property. But there are like horror stories I've heard where, closing is happening. Maybe they switched jobs, maybe someone lost their job. There's so many sad stories where no one's buying a condo. So even if you did an assignment sale, not a lot of people want it. So you're just sitting there out of luck.
So I'll tell you, I had this lady call me, and she originally called me because it's a bizarre story. She called me and she said to me, she was like, "Yeah, Jacqueline," she's like she's ghosting me right now. So it's a whole different story. But she called me and she's like, she took so much of my time. Honestly, like, and me, I'm a kind person. I'll say that. I'm a kind person. Sometimes a little
Are.
stupid. But I do believe in, like, if someone's going through something and they can even like share what they're going through, obviously you want to help them. You want to give them the best, possible scenarios, right? So
Mhm.
she had bought this house way out in like east, way out. Like I'm talking past Bowmanville, like
Oh,
out. Yeah.
okay.
And she's commuting all the way to like around Dufferin Keel, that area, York University area.
Right?
Yeah. So, well, she changed her jobs. That's why she was commuting. So, nice place, everything. And I said, you know what? Because they were brand new, I said, are they the executive townhouses or the regular ones with the backyard? And she said, the regular ones with the executive town. I'm like, oh, that's even harder because like a regular one with a backyard, you can fit a family and kids and the whole nine yards. Executive townhouses are for a professional, for someone who's looking to downsize, who doesn't want to do all the other, like, people with kids want a backyard. So you kind of take a pool of people out of the mix, right? So right away, the price that I thought she had in mind, that we could maybe stretch it to, that even was not available. Then she tells me how much she paid for it. And then she tells me what she'd like to get out of it. And I'm like, okay, ooh, the market is very, very sluggish in that area, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, I'm not making it up. This is what people are, selling for. And they are the comparables. So in a market where it's a buyer's market, buyers will look at comparables, right? And so then she went silent. She's like, I just changed jobs, maybe because she was looking to maybe move a little closer, just get a little condo, the whole nine yards. And then I don't know what happened between then and then the next call with me, because the next call with me was like, oh, like the sky was falling. And so I'm like, hold on a second. What are we selling again? Yeah, I have this brand new townhouse in Bolton. And I go, because she was asking me about Bolton. I said, Bolton's really nice. Like, if you're looking to commute, it's not a commuting
Mhm.
town,
Yeah.
but it's really nice. People really like Bolton.
Yeah.
At one point, they were like selling blah, blah, blah. And, I kind of do quite a bit of work there. So I kind of know the area really well. So somehow she bought a townhouse from there. And I was like, when did you buy this townhouse? That I have no clue. Like the first time you talked to me, you never mentioned a townhouse.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I have to close on it. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. And I said, okay, so did the bank give you the money? Single person on a mortgage. I know the answer. And I know her job. And like, I can do math. And I'm like, ooh, like how much are we talking here? 1.3, 1.2 for the townhouse. She's
Oh,
had a mortgage. And so I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay. She's like, well, do you think we can put it up as an assignment? I said, first of all, you have to get permission to assign. That's what people don't understand. I have an assignment clause, but they don't realize the assignment clause is not going to give them much, right?
yeah.
So I said, you have to get permission to assign. Once you get that, we'll try it and see where you land. And I said, but if you have to close, you're looking at closing, like all the closing costs that go with it, right? So we went over the whole nine yards. And then I think it was so overwhelming, but then she started ghosting me. So two options. One, her townhouse is not ready yet. Or two, she's decided to walk away from it. Like that's the only thing I could think of
Yeah.
because, and I was actually, just going to do it out of my goodness. But I said to her, I said this, like, I think we'll put a price up. But if you're asking me to bring my clients to it, my clients will not overpay. That's just the bottom line. My clients will not overpay
Yeah.
because I run the numbers for them and they do kind of trust my judgment. And so, I mean, I couldn't, in their right mind, say to them, like, buy this lady's place
Yeah.
because she's in trouble, right? But of course, there are a lot of crazy things. So have you been experiencing some of this stuff, like where people can't?
Where they can't close, or I've even seen cases where they have too much house. So it's either they are in a position where they're stuck because closing is coming up and they just weren't prepared for it. And it's more common with pre-construction, I noticed, because you're able to walk right into a pre-construction, sign all these papers, you have some money, and no one's like guiding you with what's going to happen afterwards. And then closing is coming up and you're screwed. So I see both sides of it. I see those cases, but then I also see people who somehow get too much house. Like, for example, there's a guy and you had like a 4-bedroom house, single person, no animals, no pets, just him. And I was like, that's a lot of house for you. And I find that, like, especially last year when the economy was like really tough and really shocking, it's a sad story to see where people they're losing their houses.
Yeah.
You know?
And somehow because they were at 1.9 or 1%, and now they're renewing at, 3, 4 times that amount,
Yeah.
that also is a reality check, right? And I say to people, I think, I don't know, I think we're in this situation where people just want to get as much as they can because they can, as opposed to, and don't get me wrong, like I have two thoughts about it, right? Because when there's a thing I would say to people back in the day, back in the day, you're like, what day?
In my day.
No, but you know what I mean? You take people out for a showing and you'll say to someone like, between this floor plan and this floor plan, it's a $20,000 difference. And if, yeah, one is a little bigger, it's 20,000. It's not a lot. It's like $100, $200, $100 every pay or whatever. It's not a lot of money. Like, and I know we're not talking 20,000 anymore. We're talking hundreds of thousands, right? But sometimes I say to people, like, kind of picture yourself now, but also picture where you're, like, how this house can be yours for the next 5 or 10 years, because that's when you really kind of will stay put and will roll with the market, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
you're not in this mode where now it's a bad market and I have to sell because, right?
Exactly. Well, that's real estate. Real estate is a long game, and a lot of people don't realize that. They think they're going to buy the house and see appreciation within maybe 2 or 3 years. In some cases, that happens, but in some cases, it does not. So you have to be prepared to hold your property, sometimes 5 to 10 years, maybe longer, to see the numbers that you want to see, right? So,
Yeah.
like, things like floor plans can definitely affect that, where you're making a decision today to save 20,000, but down the line, that floor plan could have helped your property appreciate a lot more.
True,
Right?
true. Yeah. So what are you right now? What are you doing mostly? Like, yeah, okay, approving people, but also like everything.
Refinances, a lot of refinances. Just the last couple of years has been really rough for everyone. So I'm doing a lot of like debt consolidations into their mortgage just to get rid of like a lot of high interest rate credit cards. Because life happens and people rack them up, and getting into that cycle of paying hundreds of dollars every month on a credit card and not seeing the principal going down by very much, it's disheartening. And then you're also paying a mortgage on top of that. So it's like a lot of times people come to me and it's like they're in the dark, and by the end of it, I'm helping them see a light at the end of the tunnel by doing those refinances. And it's a lot. There's a lot of them coming up, especially as it's like renewal season right now. The sticker shock combined to the 2% or 1.9% they got a couple years back, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Talking about people who are like, I know, living their life on credit cards, and I know it's hard right now, right? With a lot of families because they have, everyone is struggling. People are struggling because things are so expensive, right? But I don't know. Sometimes I think some people don't understand the way credit works, right? It's like when my daughter was little, she would be like, just write a check, mommy. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
I'm glad she understood that early. You know, my cousin was a head honcho in an energy sector, and she ended up not getting in because of him. She inadvertently got in because she's a paralegal license, but she got in to work in that sector, and so they do a lot of collections, and so that's where they use they want people with paralegal background for the collection piece, but it's like hardcore stuff. Like when she first started, she's like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like this is a collection company, like calling you, like kind of like being like really, really mean to you, right?
oh no.
So she was like, oh my goodness. She goes, I don't want to ever be in a position where, but she learned a lot about credit and about how credit works and how people like are and some of these people were in the US. So they pay quite a bit for like their energy bills and stuff. And, she was very like traumatized almost with this, but also learned at an early age how credit works and how to not, mess it up. But we were also instilling in her, right? Like I'm like I will not pay interest on a credit card. Like if I pay interest on a credit card, it's like the end of the world. But
Yeah.
when you're younger, you don't understand that piece, right? Because you can literally buy a whole top for the interest you pay sometimes, or a whole outfit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, that's how I kind of, I don't think some people look at it that way. They look at it going, oh, I'll just pay the interest, but it never goes down. Like it's so much. You're just paying that every month.
And that's the thing, though. You're not taught any of this in school, so you have to go and find the information yourself. And funny enough, even in like university and college, they have the booths, like they have the credit card companies handing out credit cards like it's candy, like just sign up, get a free bag, get some free cookies, right? But you're not learning how to actually use those cards properly. And then that follows you. So when you become a homeowner and you're still using those credit cards, and then on top of that, you have a mortgage, you don't understand the position that you're putting yourself in if you're not careful. So
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate, and there should be some way to make it like common knowledge, but I guess everyone has to
Yeah.
make money and businesses have to survive, right?
I still think you can make money and survive. Maybe my bank is telling me a different story.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
like credit card companies, they don't really have a heart where it's like, oh man, we put this person in a really bad position by giving them a card where they shouldn't have had it, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's when they tempt you, right? Like, oh, want to increase your balance?
exactly.
Yeah, we have this big balance we can give you. I'm like, for what? I don't even use it. But
Exactly.
it's a good thing to have if you're actually if you're very disciplined, right? And hey, all I'm going to pay all of this on my credit card, and I'm going to pay it off at the end of it. If
Yeah.
you're disciplined enough to do that, it's actually great to
Yeah.
borrow someone else's. I mean, I encourage people to use a credit card because I feel like if there's fraud, it's their money.
Easier.
Yeah,
Exactly.
quick to collect it, go after it. If it's your debit card, good luck. Good luck. They're
Wait
like,
for months. But the thing is, your bank account is insured, but just the bank takes forever.
yeah, but still, it's like your money. So it's like live money. I call it live money, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of keep that, even though you get like almost no interest on it. But then if something happens, they can go and do all the work. The amount of hoops they make people jump through. I had like the worst, my daughter had the worst experience with money. I told her to go open up this home savings account, the year they started it. And I said, even though you're not getting it, go open up this home savings account so you can put money into it and so you can withdraw from that to buy a house.
Hold on,
And
FHSA,
yeah, and the home,
the first home savings account.
yes, that one.
Yeah.
Right. And so she did. She went to the bank, she put money into it. And so the bank knew this was just like she had an account. She would put money into the account and it would go into the home savings account. And she had fraud. And so she gets up, she was working nights. She woke up because this ding came through. She saw this. She's like, I didn't transfer anybody money. I don't even do any banking with them. Like this is a card that is just buried. I don't do any work with them. So she calls them and says, hey, someone's just trying to withdraw all this money from my account. It's not me. Like I didn't do it. I'm not even using that account. And they could have stopped it. They didn't. She ended up buying a house. Her money was caught in this home savings account and they wouldn't release it to her. So mommy, who's playing double duty as the realtor and the mom, said, okay, well, I'll give you the money. Well, what else am I going to do? This poor girl, she's got her money stuck. She's got a deal going through. They wouldn't release her the money because of the fraud that happened. And they were still investigating. Like months later, she went to the ombudsman. She filed all these reports. Anyhow, then finally she gets her money ready to be released. And then they tell her, no, they can't give it to her. They have to take the taxes because this is for a home account. And she's like, here's my paperwork. I bought a house. And they're like, no, we can't give it to you. We have to take it. So eventually she had to go back to the ombudsman. It was a mess. It was a mess. Eventually she got her money because she's like very tenacious. She's like very tenacious. She's not gonna like stop. She's like, this is ridiculous. Da da da. Poor thing. Like I was stressed because I was like, what the hell? Like, and it was a nightmare. And I didn't even think they were going to take so long with them. Like you said, 3 months later, it was Like her deal was closed and they still didn't release the money. They didn't care.
Yeah.
So like what if it was someone who didn't have someone to go to and say,
Like, what do I do?
yeah, like
Yeah.
what if like it was a first time home buyer, had no parents in this country, or was just young, just starting out, wanted to buy a house. Like what do they do, right? It's such a bad situation to be in.
Exactly. But that's why I stress the importance of having like your dream team, as I call it, the people who are in your corner to help you get the deal done, right? Everyone's invested, from your realtor, your mortgage agent, your lawyer. All these people are in your corner to help you. So like even if you don't have parents who are in the country or siblings or whatever the case may be, having those people that you pick will help you get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else are you seeing? What's going on with this the stress test?
Oh, it's still there. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They decided to keep it continued. They did make that rule a couple, I think last year, the year before, where if you are renewing, the stress test doesn't apply. But if you're buying, the stress test, it's still there and it's not going anywhere for the time being.
I know it's so hard. I mean, I know it was there when rates were really low,
Yeah.
but once rates like I mean, it's so easy to deal with it with a caveat, right? Like if rates fall below whatever, then it comes back on the table. Like it really kind of makes no sense.
I feel like it doesn't apply because a lot of times, I mean, the most common rate that people talk about is a fixed rate. So you're not going to be stressed because you're not in a variable position. You're in a fixed position.
Yeah.
So that's really not going to apply to you. If you're in a variable position, the rates only go up and down by like usually 0.25 or even zero point 0.5 at a time. So again, you're not going to have that +2, right, that they use to qualify during the stress test. You're not going to have that. So I feel like the idea is a good idea in like theory, but like in actuality, it's not so great. But we don't make those decisions, right?
Yeah.
It does affect buying power though. Like without the stress test, people would be able to
Yeah.
use more. And I feel like that should be a personal decision because everyone's finances are different. How they budget every month is different. So I mean, having that stress test, it just limits your buying power. And as I can see right now, a lot of people are struggling, and the stress test is still around and it's not helping people who are struggling. Hence the need for all the refinances.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's hard. I mean, but then I heard the other day someone saying that it doesn't apply to you if you're refinancing if it's the same amount of mortgage. If it's
So
a
they're doing
different amount.
Yeah, so if you're doing a switch or like a transfer, so when you renew, you could do a switch to like a different
Yeah,
lender.
yeah,
For better.
yeah.
So if you're doing that, the same amount to a same amount, but just a better rate, there's no stress test. But if you are refinancing for a different amount, then the test will apply. Yeah. So that's the difference between like the renewing and refinancing part.
So
So
let me ask this question. Like if you started off with, let's say, whatever amount and you paid down, you've got the mortgage for 5 years and you've paid down quite a big chunk because it's not your first 5 years. So let's say you're the second 5 years, whatever, you're 5 to 10, and you've paid up quite a big chunk. Like, do you get the amount or just what's left? What you're renewing it? Like if you only had, let's say you're 250 and you paid out 50,000. Let's just be, you know, you paid 50,000 and now you're renewing. Would it be at 250 or would it just be the 200 because you
it would be
paid?
the 200.
I see.
Yeah, it's just whatever amount. So like paying down your mortgage, like even if you do something simple like bi-weekly payments instead of monthly payments, that actually helps reduce your mortgage amount a little bit faster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it ends up equaling like an extra month worth or so. But like a little bit every month or every couple of months, even a lump sum, it does help when it comes to renewal because the amount is lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that too because little bits help, right? It just kind of helps you shave off. People don't realize how much it does
Yeah.
shave off, but it does help. So, what advice would you give someone who, let's say, we'll go through different scenarios, okay? What advice would you give someone if they were like brand new, like really interested in buying a house? Like, what would you kind of tell them to do if they could do a couple of things to get into that groove?
So I always start off by asking them, what is the purpose for buying the house, right? Like, are you looking to make it an investment property? Are you looking to live there for a while? Because that affects how you buy and how your mortgage is structured, right? I also share like budgets. That way they kind of have an idea as to what their expenses are going to be as a homeowner. Because when you're renting and your fridge breaks down, you call your landlord. But if you're a homeowner and your fridge breaks down, either you call the company you bought the fridge from or you have to go buy a new one. So you need to have those emergency savings in place just in case of. right? So I just like to prepare them by doing things like that. Also during like a pre-approval process, I let them know ahead of time, like because people come to me with these big ideas and I'm gonna buy $1 million house, and it's like
Yeah, I like laughing, but I know what you mean.
right? And then like we run the numbers and it's like, hey, it's not $1 million house, but it's okay. You could still get in the market, right?
Yeah.
And you could work up to that $1 million house if that's really what you want. So I like to prepare them for reality when it's reality as a homeowner, whether it's budgeting, savings, or being realistic with your numbers, because I'm such an advocate for just because you're pre-approved for 1 million doesn't mean that you have to purchase $1 million house, right? Because if you're at your max, you don't give yourself a lot of wiggle room for the unexpected things that happen in life. That's what I tell
So
them.
I hear this so often, right? Like I'll have people come in and they'll tell me, and Jacqueline, I think I'm probably going to be at the 700. Do you want to talk to a mortgage? Because, it's really hard. Like it's not hard. I have no problem telling them, but they really don't want to believe you as a realtor. Sometimes like they're thinking, like, what do you know? Like I had this one guy, he came in, nice guy. He's like, hey, I'm paying like so much rent. He was paying quite a bit of rent. Okay. And he was giving me this whole story. And every time he would call, he had this really long conversation with me because he's asking me all these questions. He kept asking me a lot of questions, a lot of questions. So I was not passing him off. I said, you should really go get pre-approved. He's like, no, I think I'll be okay at, 700,000, 800,000. And I'm like, okay, but how much do you make? And who else is going to be on the mortgage? Or just me? And I said, I don't know if you're going to get that much. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, 550. And I was being like polite, like about it. And I said, well, and if you only have so much down payment, then I would say 5 because you'd have to be under 5. And he's like, I think you're a bit low, don't you think? I said, well, we're off by 300,000, so I guess I'm a bit low. Right? I said, but why don't you go see someone who's like, and because you want them to go to someone who's going to give them good information. But at the same time, some of them are skeptical because they're like, oh, I'll just go to my bank. I'm like, okay, if you want to. But the bank doesn't take time to really do that in-depth analysis, give them all that details. Anyhow, long story, he ended up with more around what I said. He's like, oh, you're pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, everybody comes to me. We ask them how much they make. They get pre-approved. We see these numbers every day. Like, I'm not a magician. It's not like, we put our hand in a bag and pull out a number. You see these numbers come through, but I think the reality check where people don't realize like 100,000 is good for you. You're making 100 or more than 100, but it doesn't really get you so much more just because, right?
Like
So,
having a cosigner does wonders if you're looking for that higher price point.
but now see what's happening with all the co-signers too, right? Because it's nice if you have a co-signer who's willing to do the little extras. And it really depends on what they are looking to do as well in their life, right? There's so many moving pieces. And that's why I say to people, like, come prepared, have your file wrapped up nice and neat. So we don't have to like jump through hoops and kind of then you can sleep easy. Like you're just sailing through. You're like, hey, I got this.
Yeah,
But you're right about having a good team behind you, right? Like people who are having your best interests. They're not forcing you to buy something just because.
exactly. Or forcing you into a mortgage just because, right? Like they're
Yeah,
really important to understand the mortgage that you're getting into, understand the property that you're getting into, because like it's something that it's where you rest your head. So where you rest your head, you should be at peace doing that.
yeah,
And not worried about like, oh, will someone come and take my house tomorrow? Will I be able to make the payment? You know?
yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, that's why I like you. That's a good way. No, no, really. Like, because that's why I'm like, that's why I like you. Because you know what? Listen, I deal with people, right? And I know a lot of times realtors have like the worst reputation possible on earth, right?
Yeah.
Because like some people, I think to myself, like, if you're so busy worried about making money, this is why you get into trouble. You just have to be worried about doing what's right for people, and money will just kind of land in. right? It'll just
Yeah.
come to you. I think that's important. Like, I think that's where people lose focus, right? I'll tell you this bizarre story that I'm telling you, I could write a book some days, right?
You
So
should.
I get this old dude calling me the other day, right? And I'm talking to him, and he's a sweet guy. He calls me back, and he's a total cold call. He signed up for something, and then he tells me he's got land and he wants me to sell his land. And I'm like, but then, it was bizarre. So I called him back, and then he calls me back, right? So he starts telling me, he's like, yeah, I have this land. And he's nowhere near me, like he's further out, right? So I'm like, oh, how do I tell him? Like, maybe I'll send him to someone like, closer.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story. He's like, no, no, I kind of I want you to sell my land, because I guess we were talking, and then he started to, so I started asking him some questions about like certain things he was telling me. So I guess he felt comfortable. So he's like, I saw this house, I really liked it. I said, okay. And he's like, I called the listing agent I called the agent who I saw her name on the thing. So I figured it was a listing agent.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so did you go see the house? He's like, yeah. I even I write the papers. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You made an offer. He's like, yeah, she wrote the papers for me. And I said, okay, so what happened? He's like, I was very upset. I said, why were you upset? So he starts telling me, he's like, he goes to see this land. The agent tells him, you'll have a chuckle. The agent tells him the lady's paying $2,500. There's two houses on the property. You can live in the big houses. This renter is paying $2,500 a month plus her own utilities. So this guy he's a senior, so he's got pension, right? And so right away, like all these dollar signs are going on in his head, going, 2,500, she can pay my mortgage. And, I can have this whole piece of land with my own little house, and she's got her own little house. And so he says to me, he's like, I tell them I have land and it has a trailer on it, and it's worth, like, I want 260,000 for it. And I said, will they take my deposit as down payment? Like, will they take my land and trailer as the cash amount? And then, and I said, who's paying the rest? He's like, he's like, oh, the rent will pay the rest. I'm like, but you still have to qualify for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think there was a disconnect, and I don't think this agent was telling him, but it gets better. He's like, the agent then told me there was another offer and that I have to go up to 900,000. So from 850 went to 9, right? And I said, okay. Did you buy that to get the house? Did you get the mortgage? He goes, no. 3 days later, she called me and told me the guy's wife doesn't want any land, so the deal is off. And I go, but you signed papers? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, this is very bizarre, very
Yeah.
bizarre. But I mean, what do you do when someone's telling you this stuff? And I said, look, I don't really know the details, because he's wanting me to tell me. It's like, I need someone strong like you. And I'm like, you don't even know me. I need someone strong like you to fight for me. That's why he wanted me to sell his land. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. But then I felt really bad for him. So I said to him, he's like, I thought I had this deal. Well, I'm glad they didn't have the deal, because where would he have got this mortgage from for
Oh,
like the
it
remainder?
happened. It would not have happened.
500 and something thousand. And I'm like, plus closing costs, so like 600,000,
Yeah.
and in mortgage. And then he thinks he can just put 500 bucks a month because she's paying 2,500. Like, what happens when the renter leaves and the renter doesn't pay you any money? These are all like realities, right? So
A lot of people are just not informed.
I'm
No
like,
questions are asked.
yeah. So it's sad, because to be honest, he's a sweet guy. He was a really nice guy. He was giving me a whole history about his whole history. And I felt bad for him, because I felt like, I mean, how else do you, like, honestly, like, how can we educate people? Like, even more. Like, sometimes people don't really listen, but like,
People
how do
don't
you,
listen. People definitely don't listen. Like I've had stories where I had a client and I had him pre-approved and he wanted to get a rental property and he knew what his max was. And he would call me, "Oh, Kim, I saw this beautiful property. The income is going to be great." And I said, "But you don't qualify for that." Because we ran so many numbers back and forth where I knew off the top, if he told me a number, I knew I said, "You won't qualify for that." "Oh, but it's okay. I could increase my down payment, but you never told me that. You're not, it doesn't make sense."
yeah.
He went ahead and put an offer in. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Because you don't qualify. Why would you offer? don't qualify. And he was saying all these crazy things. Well, I'm gonna get a gifted down payment. I said, that's great. From where? Oh, my girlfriend. Just say that she's my sister. I'm sorry, what?
Oh my God. You know what? That's the thing, because there are people who are selling this stuff to people, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm like, no, man, like I don't deal with that stuff.
And then it
I'm
got even
agent.
crazier where the seller was saying, oh, we could do seller financing. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do, but I'm telling you, you by yourself on your income cannot qualify for this property. It's above your range. And it was like a whole thing. It's just sometimes you could educate people as much as you can, but they're gonna do what they do.
You know
And
why? Because there's so many people like sharing this underhanded stuff, right?
yes,
And like, I'm not about to lose my license because you want to do some like stuff. Like, that's not happening on my watch. Like, I don't,
exactly.
it's not like I want to turn a blind eye, but the moment you tell someone that, right away, they choose someone else,
Yeah, red
you
flag.
know? Yeah, right away they're working with someone else, right? Like, I've noticed a couple of people now, they've decided to not work with me. And like, why? Like, we were getting along good. Why would you choose not to? Because like someone gave you this great deal because you thought, oh, I'm just going to get a little extra. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't even afford to pay what you have now. Why would you get a little extra?
Yeah.
Right? Because and I kind of said to people, look, when the shit hits the fan, that person's not going down with you. You're going down on your own.
Yeah.
And it's jail time, man. Like, I'm not going to jail. I don't do
Exactly.
jail. Look at me. I'm like, right, I will make it 2 days in jail.
It wouldn't last very long over there.
No, no, no.
So,
So, yeah, but like, this is the thing though. It's disappointing because when will we see this reform where, like, I mean, we are chuckling about it, but it's very serious. When will
it's
we see
sad.
this reform where we can not have people like think fraud is okay?
Exactly.
Like,
It's advertised. And even like some of the signage, like as mortgage agents, there's certain things that we're supposed to do for FISRA when it comes to advertising. And I see that. So like when I see people putting things like, oh, I can promise you like crazy low rates and stuff like that, their name is never on it. The brokers are associated with is never on it. Their brokerage FISRA number is never on it. It's just this crazy like hook with their phone number. And that's not allowed as a mortgage agent. So it's like things are being done and no one says anything about it. So when certain clients don't get their way, they'll find the agent that will do it, right, for them. And it's unfortunate. And that's why we get these headlines where so and so has lost their license and this brokerage is shut down and Trust Money went like that realty group, iPro or something,
yeah.
where they like shut down because all these things are happening behind the scenes.
Well, I just put on my stories the other day. I put actually I did a video, and I did a video because I was not because I want to, like we have a bad, like I said, we have a bad enough reputation. I don't need to do a video to like say, look at us, like we're, so messed up. Honestly, like some of us are really struggling, not struggling, I don't want to be dramatic now. Some of us are really trying hard to
Yeah.
be good people. Like we're like doing everything by the book. And it's so friggin' annoying because my husband actually, says, you're like a goody two shoes. You're like following every rule and you don't want to break any rules. Who gives a shit? Everybody else is breaking rules. And I'm like, no, don't say that because I don't want to break rules. But little things like like just weird things, like people will do stuff that even small things. I'm not a rude, like when it comes down to like these were put into place for a reason. But the other day I put a video on and it was about not just iPro, which was one, and a lot of sticky fingers. There was a Scarborough Realty too, 500K missing. There was this me something, me realty, this me Zhang woman that she obviously had her own realty, which is great that you have your own realty. Like, I mean, I could have my own realty, but it takes like someone's got to do the work. Like, you're going to be like for a little bit of money, you're going to save because you don't want to pay out a brokerage. But you're going to do all of that other work yourself, like the clerical stuff, whatever. Like, even a little bit of clerical help makes a difference. Even a little bit of, help when you're not available with a broker makes a difference, right? Like if you have a good broker. But it's important to actually align yourself with the correct person.
Yeah.
And when money goes missing like that, I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's pretty scary. Like, I mean, I couldn't face like, could you imagine these buyers waiting to close? And all
Hmm.
these realtors, like they work their asses off because it's so hard right now. And
Yep.
all the commission being
Just gone.
like
It's like, for what? Where does the money, like, what would you, how do you sleep at night taking money like that? Like, what are you doing? Going on a vacation? Like, how do you do that?
that's a lot of money. And those guys from iPro, like they were not even getting the money back from them. And then there's like, oh, yeah, insurance. Why would insurance pay? Like, figure out where this money is and take it back. Because honestly, insurance will go up for every one of us after. Our premiums will go up, right? And so why should we be the ones who pay for everybody else's wrongdoings,
Exactly.
right?
Needs to be some type of crackdown or some type of reform. It's
But
like getting a license is not easy, especially as a realtor. Like the mortgage license wasn't that bad. I actually started the realtor license before my mortgage agent license, and I was like, not for me. But it's just it's a lot of work that we do to get our license and maintain our license as professionals. So it's so disheartening to see people who have gone through the same thing, but yet they're taking all of these loopholes and, underground deals and stuff like that, right?
And you know what's worse now is some of the realtors that are on. Not that I'm bad. I just wish there would be, like, if you don't know, I wish there would be some place you could go and get educated. So this these realtors, they're putting listings online. It's missing like key information. Like they're putting the wrong information. If you actually call them and say, hey, your listing doesn't have the correct information, because some of us are like nerds and we look at everything. Like, if it doesn't, like, if I made a mistake on my listing and someone called me, I'd be like thankful. I'd be like, hey, thanks, man. Like, you called, and then I should be respectful and then go take a look at what they said and either challenge them because they're wrong or correct it and thank them because I'm wrong. But these people, they won't change the listing. And so when buyers are going out to these listings, and if it doesn't have the basic, I mean, some of the stuff could make, like, what if you said the yard was so big and the buyer wants to put a pool in, and they bought the property solely because they wanted to put a pool in and they were not allowed to? They're going to come after you. They're going to come after, like, they're going to come after the other agent, right?
Yeah.
And it's just basic stuff, like, just get the right information. There's information out there that you can like pay and download and just figure it out. But I think there's a lot of like these people with these, like, I can call my broker anytime and he answers the phone and answers my questions if I
Yeah.
had any questions. Like if I was second guessing, and I call him when I'm like trying to bounce something off. Like I've already done the research, but I'm like trying to figure out, hey, I see this. What are your thoughts? Have you ever dealt with something like this before? But I think some other discount brokerages,
Discount roach.
you know, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the wild, wild west out there.
it is. I hope it gets better. I feel like it will.
It will.
Yeah.
It can't get any worse. I mean, honestly, like I think there's a lot of work to be done when it comes down to RICO, which they're a mess themselves, and they're the ones who administer us and want to tell us what we're doing right or wrong. The other part too is there's no governing, like there's no policing body, right, to look at stuff. They want everyone else to report, but there's not even a proper way to report. So like if you call the Treb Hub desk and say, hey, there's a problem with this listing, they won't do anything. They'll say, oh, there's a form. Can you fill in all the information? Because they want you to like snitch on people. And snitch, what happens to snitches? They get stitches. But people are mean, right? Like if you say something, then they'll be like, oh, you do a deal next time, God help you.
Yeah.
So lots of moving pieces. So, okay, so let's talk about like if you were stuck somewhere between a move-up buyer. Let's say you've bought your first condo, and given the condo market so hard and you being stuck in it, like how can somebody wiggle their way out of that condo but move into a bigger space because they really want, because the family is growing and they really need the space?
Well, it depends on the situation. It depends if they have equity in their home. If they do, they could potentially sell and use that money to get into a bigger house. or it could be that they keep it as a rental property and they use the rental income to help qualify them for a bigger house. So I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah. So if you bought a
Right?
rental property, how does the mortgage work on that? Does like would the lender consider the full amount as a or
Do. Some actually do. So it typically ranges between 50% to like 80%, but there are some lenders that will take 100% of the rental income. It depends on like the property, it depends on the lender, of course, and the area. Because I mean, you can't be like up north somewhere where it's like not a rural, not a suburban, or
yeah, because they want to make sure that they're getting that amount of rent and the rent will be
it'll be
consistent.
consistent and there won't be any issues there. Because I mean, lenders are just, they think like an underwriter in a sense where they have to protect their investment. So a lot of the decisions that they make is to ensure that, they're not chasing after you to do a power of sale on your house.
Yeah, and a lot of I'm having a lot of so I specialize in like downsizing and then a lot of seniors too, and some of my people, I'm not very pushy when it comes to like, I mean, listen, it's your house to sell. I'll give you the right information. I'll tell you like what my opinion is. At the end of the day, if you still want to live there and you know and money is not a like, who am I to tell you when to move and why you should move? But I think I'm getting a lot of the reality setting in where people are suddenly realizing they're just living to pay for this home. Like they're just kind of existing and paying for the home because now they're getting less money. And so some of them are like smart. They're like, hey, I'm getting to the point where I want to retire soon, but I want to also have a good life and I want to travel and I want to do these things and I want to sell my property now, which technically it would have been nice if they sold it a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Because it would have got the most. And I had a lady call me. She's like, yeah, we do a fair bit of traveling, but I really think we need to downsize into like a small little bungalow and get rid of my property and still be able to put a few bucks in the bank, right?
Yeah.
So how do you tell those people to kind of go about it without, I know they can do a reverse mortgage and
I
all
was gonna say it.
that. But
I mean, if you don't want to do a reverse mortgage and you do want to downsize, of course, there's options for you when it comes to your mortgage. Ideally, if it's a situation where you're looking to retire and you're not retired yet, I would recommend doing it before you retire because afterwards you're just going to have your pension and stuff, right? So your income will definitely help you qualify for the home that you're looking for. Depending on like the area and stuff, it might be on par for price. It might be a little bit lower. So I would recommend doing it before you retire. But if you actually do want to stay in your home, reverse mortgage all the way.
yeah, that's kind of what some people are. But I also think, I did actually have a lady who just specializes in reverse mortgage. And I did learn a couple of things from her. I did, because, we all have our restrictions. I think when we listen to reverse mortgages, we think about like some nightmares that happen in the US, right?
Yeah.
But Canada is very restricted and regimented in a lot of things. So it's kind of different. And I've learned that with reverse mortgages, right?
They get a bad rap for some reason, but like it really just helps people. Like a lot of time there could be like, seniors, retirees who are living in their home and they can no longer afford groceries. But by getting a reverse mortgage, it lets them tap into their equity that they have spent their life building up and they can afford like a better lifestyle, which they deserve for paying their home all this time, right? So I do think it gets a bad rap. I think it's pretty fair, like the terms for the most part, where it's like, either the person moves or they decide to sell the home or they go into a seniors or they may pass away, and that's when it's time to say, okay, the amount that you borrowed needs to be paid back, and either someone's taking over the house or it's being sold or whatever the case may be. I think it's done fairly in that way. So I think it's mostly the American side that made reverse mortgages get, because over here it's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I did do a whole thing, and I did actually learn a few things about, not that I should have known, but really, it's something that most people don't even talk about. So, but I did do a show with her, and I learned quite a bit of stuff, which she was telling me how much they give you, like your age, and that how, I mean, there's always ways people can inflate the value of your home, I'm sure. There's always ways. But on the tail end of it, like you can never owe more than your house is worth, right? Like there's
Yeah.
never going to be like such a big gap where you're going to end up with paying them as opposed to like that part is good. Nobody wants to be left without, but I do feel like my older clients, I do, there's one thing I told my parents, there's one thing I tell my older clients. It's like, why are you storing your money away? Like your kids, I know the kids will not like me telling them this, but let them fend for themselves. Like I tell my parents all the time, like, why are you like skimping on your life so that you leave something for us? Like, don't leave us any bills. That helps. Don't
Exactly.
leave us, if you want some big funeral, then pay for it. Like, I mean, most of us will end up doing the best for our parents anyways, because, you want your parents' wish to be, and I kind of said to my parents, like, my wish is super, like, quite different. Like, if I die, I don't want a big funeral. And, if you don't have time to chat with me, see me when I'm alive, why are you coming when I'm dead?
Exactly.
Wasting my time. Like, I can talk to you. Like, it's a waste of time, right? But a lot of people feel like, oh my, like someone's dead, let's kind of pay our wishes, right? And I always say, like, if it was me, at one point I always said, like, oh, I don't think I can be like buried in the ground. It's too cold and all this nonsense when I'm dead. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing there's a cost to a mausoleum, right?
Yeah.
And, maybe I just need ashes in a little spot. But I know, like religiously, some people are like, oh yeah, but we don't like cremate. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting cremated, even though I'm religiously, they don't cremate, but whatever. It's whatever suits your, like it doesn't make sense to pay all this money when you're dead
Yeah.
to store you. But to
If
each their own, I guess.
each their own, I always say get a will and just write down what you want to get done, like get that organized because it's one thing to be grieving, but then to be thinking about what the person wants who's no longer here. It's like, do they want to be buried? Do they want to be cremated? A lot of times people don't even think about that part. So I think that if you plan it in advance, like write a will or get yourself organized, like you can do funeral arrangements ahead of time. You can actually go to a funeral home and get it prepared ahead of time, pick out exactly what you want, pick out your outfit, do all the things, pick out your plot
Yeah.
for crying out loud. You could do all of that while you're alive and just make it easier for everyone after you pass. Where it's
Yeah.
just like,
It's true. It's true. You know what? My mother-in-law, actually, her mom, when I guess when the grandfather passed away, so her mom had gone and bought four little plots. She asked them, right? So it's two girls and for them, and it was just for like they were going to get cremated, and they were just going to. So they had four plots, and not my grandma, my mother-in-law, so my grandmother-in-law, let's just say, she was very, if they told her this is what you have to do, and she would have made sure all of her stuff would be in place, right? And I remember my mother-in-law died, and they were like, "Oh no, the name it should be in your the living relative." And I'm like, clearly you didn't say that because it would have been done. Anyways, we had a living relative, so her sister was still alive, so we got all the paperwork done. And it was funny because when I look back at the bill that she paid, like years and years ago, it was like so long ago, and it was like a few $100 for four plots.
yeah,
And just even because like when we were looking at it and I was like getting a little flustered because the family was grieving, and I'm like, okay, so what's it going to cost us before we went to get the paperwork done? The guy's like, oh yeah, for like a plot that size it'll be about 5 grand just for the plot. And I'm like, 5 grand just for that, like to put an urn in the ground? And if we didn't have like the paperwork done by a lawyer, that cost us almost nothing. And if we looked the other way and just paid it, they would have made an extra 5 grand, and they would have had an empty plot,
yeah.
which is just horrible. But yeah, you're right. Like it's important to do that stuff. But you know what? We should really kind of find a way to educate people.
Yes.
We should think about something.
So far, all I have is like having a sign at the corner being like, get free kids. Just kidding.
I do the thing where I say, hey, I have a free webinar. And people are like flaky as, I don't know, flaky. We'll leave it at flaky. Because they'll say, yeah, I'm coming to it. And then you put in all your time and no one shows up. Or one or two people, like I was doing a downsizing thing. And all these people were like so jazzed and excited. and you were there that day, and like there were you and then someone else, and I'm like, okay, where's everybody else? But the show went on. But it would be nice if people like signed up for something and like to help them learn something, and we could kind of educate them, help them out, teach
Yeah, well,
them
I
how to.
do I do webinars like every quarter, and what I do find with the people that don't show up is that usually it's something that came up, but they do want a copy of the recording. So it's just, yeah. So I find that I always keep a copy of the slides, and I just send them and just say, here, read through them, ask your questions, and we could book one-on-ones. So that's kind of like my workaround for it,
Okay.
because yeah, a lot of times people say, oh, traffic or work late or I forgot.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. Life gets busy, but on the flip side, I do want people to have a rich life, right? Like, I think people are misunderstand that it's solely money, and money is just a means to an end. But
Exactly.
it's also having that rich life where they can afford that nice house, they can afford that nice vacation, and
Yeah.
they don't have to like break the bank to do it, right? Or
It's
rob
more
the bank.
so we'd have to break North American culture for that because like in this country we're so driven just work, 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 work. But then if you travel and you go to other places, it's completely different. It's just so lax, it's slower
I
pace,
know every other country, they're
more.
like they actually sit and people watch while they have coffee,
Yeah,
right? They I think they have to go cups only because of the visitors that show up, but most of them like drink coffee from a real cup, on a street corner and just watch people, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm a go, go, go kind of person, but I'm also like learned over the years how, you can do quite a bit and also take time for what's important, right?
exactly.
Because like once you get to a certain age and you can travel and, you have restrictions, like it's unbelievable. Like people don't realize, like, the things you wanted to do, you've put off and now you can't even do them, right? Yeah.
It's essentially taking life for granted. Even to your point when it comes to coffee, like I recently got a French press and like I take my time now to make my coffee. Like I grind the beans and like I put them in the French press and I let it sit there and do its thing. And just that like little process alone, one, the coffee tastes so much better. But but like just slowing down to enjoy it, to enjoy the flavor of the coffee and everything,
Yeah.
as opposed to instant, where it's just like you scoop it, put it in there, and you run out the door, right? Because tend to be caffeinated. So I find that with the French press, I slow down a little bit, the coffee tastes better, and it kind of gives me that mindfulness of like, okay, I'm starting my day intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we wrap up, what should we tell? What do you want to tell people? Like, what is a piece of advice you want to give people? What are you seeing?
One piece of advice I would give to current buyers and future hopeful buyers would be to ask all the questions. I find that many people they get timid when it comes to purchasing a home or even being a homeowner because they feel like they should know all this stuff already. So they feel like they withdraw their questions. But I say ask all the questions because a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so important, right? Like and even if like you're not ready today, you could do a plan with them, right? Because I know a couple of times we've talked about that way. You could do something, put something in place where someone is working towards getting rid of like maybe a student loan or some sort of debt they had, and just having like something in order. But I was listening to so many webinars now too where they're also talking about people who are giving people, grandparents who are giving money as opposed to waiting for the will to come live, letting people enjoy the money so they can get into the market. And right now the prices have dipped, and will the prices go lower? Potentially, maybe.
Possibly.
Will the rates go up? Potentially, maybe,
Possibly.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, quite possibly, right? And so I kind of say to people, right, you can time the market, you can time what you do, and right, and how you kind of approach what you want to do. And even if the market is the best market, perhaps, perhaps you won't be able to time it perfectly well, right? But technically, I think it's still like important that if you are in the market, you're really running the numbers, you know where things are. There are some good like deals, like you are getting in. Like I don't understand people's FOMO. Like I really don't, because but everybody else is like jumping on the same house. You know, people will jump on the same house, right? And but it's a great time to really get into something. So
Exactly. And to your point, even it could be the best market, but if you're not ready, it's not the best market for you.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Because really, I don't really want people to buy a home and then be unhappy in it. You know, like if it's not the time for you, it's not the time. But if it is the time for you, then then you need to call Kim and get pre-approved. So
Right?
tell them where can they reach you? What's your Instagram?
Uh, yeah, you could follow me on Instagram at Mortgage by Kimberly, or you can always give me a call. My phone's always available for me, right? My phone number is on my Instagram, or you just call me 437-388-2025. But yeah,
Awesome.
and then once you're pre-approved, we hook you up with Jacqueline and you get your house.
Yeah, no, it's so exciting, when people are buying. I'm telling you, I'm like, I just had like a client, I was working with them for like so long, and I finally, like every time we would start, they would put it off. And honestly, it takes so much time because we started to look, and then the rates went up, and then the rates went up, and the rates went up, and I was like I felt so bad for them. And then finally, we got them like a really nice place. And so they were so excited, like so jazzed, you know. And honestly, I probably did not make a penny on that one.
Oh,
Out of
okay.
hours I put in. But the satisfaction was like totally on a different level.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll give me a referral.
So we
So
do it.
yeah, it's just the way it works, right? But thank you so much. And yeah, give Kimberly a call if you're looking, if you have questions, if you're wondering if you get qualified, like give her a call because she'll follow up with you even if you are not qualified today. So
Exactly.
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was so good to chat. We haven't chatted in a while.
I know.
In a little while, but not like as long.
Alrighty.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Bye.